mysteries abound around the world, from strange lights in the night sky to ghostly apparitions passing from one realm to the next. From the great pyramids of Egypt to what lies beneath the depths of Loch Ness. From Bigfoot to Atlantis, they are all mysteries waiting to be solved. Join Lori Phillips, Lauren Smith, Graz, and Billy Simmons as they search for the truth on Nite Callers Radio.
Good evening and welcome to Nite Callers Bigfoot Radio. Was I muted?
You were muted for a minute there.
Oh, try it again. Good evening. Welcome to Nite Callers Bigfoot Radio. It is September 17th, 2015. You're here with your full round of hosts tonight. How you guys doing?
Doing great.
Doing good.
Beautiful.
Okay, now tell the truth. No, never mind. Nobody wants to hear about y'all's old
wants
people
to hear
problems.
the truth.
Yeah, nobody wants to hear y'all's old people problems. Just keep that to yourself.
Heck no. Heck no.
So we are finally here. We're all together. Blogtalk, knock on wood, is working. So I think...
Yes, we want to apologize for last week, everyone, because tell them why, Lauren. Tell them what happened.
Blog Talk sucks. That kind of covers it all, but if I'm going to be tactful about it, there were issues. It would not let the host or guest call in at all.
Yes, the show started without us. The show started without us.
The chat
and we had
started.
people in the chat.
Yeah.
And we were talking with them there, but it was just crazy. We finally had to, Lauren had to go in and delete the show to get it to quit playing. You know, it was nuts. It was just really messed up. But anyway, Shane has very graciously agreed to come back, so we will be able to do the part 2 tonight. We have him waiting in the wings, and we're looking forward to that. Wanted to share something real quick that I think that I have Sasquatch in the area. About 3 days ago, you know, it's been kind of real quiet, and I haven't really heard anything that made me think they're around. But the other morning, I heard 2 wood knocks, 2 separate wood knocks, one in one location and one in another, which that was especially exciting to me because I've not heard wood knocks in this area in a while. And then another morning, I was out there and I heard this strange sound. It sounded like this. It went boo 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 boo, just like that. And I was like, whoa. And then there's been other things, you know, more wood knocks, hooting. I think there's at least 2, maybe more. And I think that they're hanging around right now. And so it's really kind of exciting for me because it's usually this time of year. It's usually in August when they come back, but this year they came a little later. It's more like September. So anyway, I just kind of want to update everybody on what's been going on at my house.
I think I've heard that kind of sound from Billy every once in a while. You do that?
That's true.
Yeah. This is kind of a babbling. Yeah. That's neat. Really neat.
You were going to leave your recorder out, but you haven't had any need to for a while, have you?
No. And I had thought about it, setting it out, but you know, I have gas well compressor not too far away, and it just goes in all over my recordings, and I have to listen to that drone. It's a low-frequency drone, so that bionic ear picks it up big time. And so I don't know how to get around that without just blowing the thing up, you know.
It ain't going to rain for a while, is it?
It isn't going to rain?
Yeah, is it going to rain for a while? Maybe just leave it out there under a tree someplace way off in the distance.
Well, I could try that. Maybe put it down in the creek where maybe it won't pick up that compressor. It's just real annoying to try to listen to 10 hours of a hum. You know, it just really, it drives you insane. I can only go maybe an hour through it, and it just drives me crazy. So I wish when I had first bought this place, there wasn't a gas well over there, and within a year of living here, they put one in and put that compressor motor on it. And I don't really hear it so much, me, but when I record, it picks it up really big time. So anyway, fortunately for me, if I want to get some good recordings, I have to go somewhere else. I can't do it out my window or off my porch anymore. So anyway, anybody else got anything going on?
Not really. I'm going to be on Saturday. I'm going to be going looking at a possible new Squatchmobile. But that's about it.
Okay.
And a little late in the year to get a new Squatchmobile, but that's all right.
Yeah. Well, if everybody is ready, we can go ahead and bring our guest on. Graz, you think you could do like a quick introduction? You don't have to read all of that, but just kind of a...
Well, let's see here. What we got? Well, a lot of people know Shane Carpenter. He's from Missouri. He's 41 years old, married with 3 boys, and he had his first sighting at the age of 10 on his uncle's property. This is just a quick synopsis. 2013, Shane had a second sighting, which turned out to be a small group. And he returns each summer now, finding tracks and signs of them, play with different strategies to create interaction. And that brings us up to last week, we got as far as 2000 and through 2014. Shane, you there?
Hi, I'm here.
Welcome back, buddy.
Thank you.
Welcome back, Shane.
Thank you very much. Glad to be back.
Glad to finally talk to you. This is the first time I've got to speak with you yet. I was starting to think that we weren't meant to talk on the phone at all. This is like our
we made it.
try.
We did it.
So they, like they said, you brought us through 2014 in the last show. So right now we were kind of wanting you to go into 2015 if possible. Just kind of tell what you've been doing and
I should probably,
like that.
Yeah, sure. I should probably drop back to 2014 for a moment just to explain a few things leading into 2015. Coming out of 2000.
We did want you to kind of refresh the listeners on a little bit just what you said, 2014, and refresh the listeners and then move on forward.
Okay. So this group that I stumbled across in 2013, I spent 2013 leaving food and, fruits and vegetables and whatnot, and was getting some interaction and, had a lot of stuff happening, and I was seeing them. And then come deer season, about a week and a half before deer season, they disappeared. And so throughout the winter, I came back I went back a few times leading into 2014 and wasn't finding any tracks or anything. So I just kind of left it alone for the winter and soon as spring hit, I started going back again, and sure enough, I started finding tracks and whatnot. And when I went into the ordeal in 2013, I had set a strategy in place to where I went the same route and did the same things every single time, just trying to be predictable and so that they would, you know, hopefully create a pattern to my pattern, and then they would somewhat be predictable, and it seemed to work. So 2014, at this point I'd gotten into the Facebook Bigfoot community, or the Bigfoot world, I guess you could say. I had no idea that there was stuff like this on Facebook. I wasn't really into digital stuff, and so I found that there was Bigfoot forums and Facebook groups, and I was just like, wow, So I started doing more studying and kind of I picked out a few researchers and listened to a lot of radio stuff and stuff on the web and a lot of videos and whatnot, just trying to get other people's perspectives, and so in 2014 I took it upon myself to change up my strategy, and my goal was I've got a lot of time to do this. I'm in it for the long haul, so my goal is I wanted to work a few different strategies each year if they're coming back to this area every year, and so it's a long-term thing. And so I switched up my strategy. I quit leaving food. At one point, me and a friend of mine, late 2013, and I should probably mention this, something I'd never do now, and I regret doing it, but we were about 50 yards from the young juvenile, and this is the time that I took my fighter out, and he saw one. And what I didn't get into a whole lot was that we went towards it and actually kind of chased it, and it finally stopped, and we caught up to it and got within about 35 foot of it, and that was his sighting. And of course, I told you guys we had to leave because he was freaking out at that point.
Right.
But after looking back on that was a bad move on my part, because in 2014, of course, I changed the strategy up of not leaving food. So in 2014, when I started finding tracks and stuff again, I resisted leaving food, and I changed up my walk, my trek through the area, and one of the first things I noticed was that they weren't staying and hanging out in the same general area. It was on the other side of this particular creek that's in the area, and kind of up on this hill. So once I figured that out, I rearranged my pattern again, and so 2014 I was real unpredictable. Basically, I was leaving no food. I was finding all the tracks just like I normally would, but the thing that changed was the two juveniles. I was still finding their prints at this point in time, but they quit following me and quit the games and whatnot that I felt like they were playing with me. I mean, at times I felt like a toy, because I would go out there and not only would they follow me, but in particular places they would throw things at me. And I had this particular tree that I would sit, and they would follow me up to this particular point, and they would toss things over this brush pile. And I'm sitting probably 40 yards away. I've got some pictures of it, of the big male sitting in this particular spot. But so anyway, all that stuff completely changed. The interaction was gone. I would leave things, and instead of leaving food and whatnot, I would leave trinkets and marbles here and there, and they would mess with them, but they would never take them. So I started feeling like I needed a serious researcher to come in and start going out with me, and somebody that I could bounce ideas off of and whatnot. Because up to this point, I didn't want to trust anybody else to be out there with me, because I felt like if I gave too much info and got too many people out there, that somebody could go out there and just completely ruin what I had going on. So I stayed real strict on myself as far as letting people know where the spot is. So I started talking to a guy named Matt Martson, and he's about an hour and a half west of me. And he was in a few groups and whatnot, and had done some researching, and had been actively getting out in the field and whatnot. And I kind of vetted him for, I don't know, it was a good 8-9 months before I started inviting him over to go out and research with me, and it turned out to be a good thing. He's not easily swayed, and he has some different viewpoints than I do, and that's a good thing, because that keeps me honest, and I can keep him honest, and he's not a non-believer. I wouldn't say that, but he's very methodical in the way he thinks about things, and when we find things, he's very good at trying to debunk it first before we just assume anything. So I've been out there a lot, and yeah.
Quick question. As far as the timeline is concerned, did those juveniles stop following you around close just after you chased them? Like possibly that had an effect on them?
I do believe it did have an effect on them. I was out there after that particular day. It was about a week and a half before I got back out there, and the whole feeling of being out there was a little different. I don't know really how to describe it, but you could almost feel.
So from that point on, pretty much kind of changed the emotions behind it. Yeah, you could say that. It screwed my whole situation, to be blunt. Everything that I made happen up to that point. I shouldn't say made happen, because I don't think necessarily that I made it happen. It was for whatever reason, a mutual thing, is the way I kind of felt about it, looking back on it. But yeah, from then on, you
everything
didn't know.
Was
it was just a natural reaction that you personally would have at that time.
Well, I'd promised myself that I wouldn't do that, because part of my strategy at that time was not to go towards them, to let them, if I saw them, to let them know that I saw them and I knew they were there. I wanted to acknowledge that between me and them, but my strategy was to be, complacent and not go towards them. So I broke my own rule.
Okay, back to Matt.
But my plan was to change up the strategy the following summer if they showed back up. Anyway, I already had this kind of set, and so once I brought Matt Martson in, it changed the dynamics a little bit, and I eventually met a lady named Robin Roberts, who you guys have interviewed, well, and she's a member of SIR, and me and her got a good dialogue going, and we're bouncing a lot of ideas back and forth, and we started comparing research and whatnot, and we developed the trust, and so I eventually invited her and her husband down, and so they made that happen in late 2014. I believe I want to say it was October, if I remember correctly. I'm bad with dates and numbers, so don't quote me on that. I'm sure she'll be able to tell you the exact date and time that she showed up. But anyway, once I met her, and I started meeting a lot of other people through her, and it was great. I mean, I started being able to talk to a lot of people who had a lot of experience doing this, and I'm one of these people. I love hearing other people's opinions and other people's ideas and other people's theories. I don't like to listen to somebody tell me what they think and then degrade that or argue what they said. I love hearing other people's thought processes on the subject, because in my mind, if I somebody tells me something and I just immediately doubt every bit of what they told me, I may miss one important clue because I didn't leave myself open to to the possibility or what have you. So I'm pretty open as far as that goes, and I love hearing other people's ideas, and that allows me to go through and make my way through a lot of different areas and try some of these things myself. And my goal is to this year I've tried some other things, and I'm trying to find what works with this group and what doesn't work with this group, and still yet trying to keep myself, a normal presence out there in the area, so that they get used to me every year. Like I said, I'm in it for the long haul. So I'm hoping, if it maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years, the good stuff will start happening.
Shane, can you tell us what happened when you took Mark out, or Matt? You took Matt out. Can you tell us what happened when you took him out to your place?
Yeah, absolutely. So this was in, when I first started inviting him out, we were having a lot of problems linking up. I would be busy one weekend, and he would be busy the next weekend. And so at this point, the interaction was there just basically wasn't any other than these stick symbols that get left all over the area, and, manipulating trees and whatnot. And a particular symbol that I would find all the time is it looks like the letter A, and I think I sent you a couple pictures of those, but I find those all the time, and sometimes they're huge, or I shouldn't say huge. We don't, out in my area, we don't get the ginormous, glyphs or TP structures. We don't get that here. Everything's smaller for whatever reason. But I find these A's all over the place, and I'll manipulate them or just take them down, and, the next time I go out, they'll be back. So the first time I took Matt out, we didn't really find a whole lot. It was just a really dead day. I didn't even feel like they were there in the area, to be honest. And wasn't finding a whole lot of anything. We were finding breaks and, some structures that I'd been keeping an eye on, and we found a new structure that I hadn't noticed that kind of went up over a period of time, and then we eventually made our way over to this hill where I was finding tracks and whatnot, and you just have to know the situation. It's this hike that I go through. It runs down through a holler, and you cross a creek, and it leads over this huge hill, and this is all forested area. And so anyway, over this hill, early 2015, I'd been having some things happen on the hill, and had seen him a couple times. And so the day I took Matt out, it was, nothing was happening. And I was like, oh, this figures, I'm finally getting another actual researcher out of here. And nothing, we won't find anything. Go figure. So anyway, it was, I want to say maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock, and we made our way over to the hill, and Matt had ran down to the creek, and he had a blister on his heel that was bothering him, and I wanted to run up this hill and check out a couple structures and a couple areas that are up this hill. And about halfway up the hill, and I was videoing at the time, about halfway up the hill, I found a print, a real nice one. And so I hollered at Matt. I started videoing it immediately, of course, and I hollered at Matt, and Matt came up. And by the time Matt came up, I'd found 3 more tracks going up the hill, just up from this one really, really good track. And so of course Matt was pretty pumped and excited. I don't think he had witnessed a track, firsthand. But luckily he had brought some hydrocal, and so we poured that print, and I've sent you pictures of a couple prints, and both of those pictures, both of those tracks are from this year. Wow. So at that point, I find tracks nearly every time I go out. It was a normal thing to me. And when I started talking to Robin Roberts, she was telling me, you gotta start casting these tracks, you gotta. And I was, at the time, it wasn't a big deal to me. I found them all the time, and I wasn't out to prove anything. I didn't feel like I didn't consider myself a researcher. Basically, I did this for fun and because I was interested in it. And of course, I'm seeing these creatures out here, and so I just
that kind of took priority over the tracks. It's actually having sightings.
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, at the time the tracks were like a sideshow. I wanted to be at the big circus, which was, I wanted to be looking at the three rings, not the little sideshow. But
right.
To other people those tracks are important, and and at the time I didn't care. I'm still really not trying to prove anything.
It's proof that they're there, but when you're seeing them, that's proof that they're there for you.
Right, well, not only that, you can compare the details of the prints between family members, and you can start a relationship with the prints themselves.
Yeah, it's just up to that point, I had already, I'd been measuring the tracks as I found them, and I was cataloging the individuals by their tracks, by the sizes of the tracks. And I came to the conclusion that there was 5 of them because I was finding, 5 different sets of tracks. And eventually I narrowed that down visually too. Of course that was in 2013 though. But so yeah, we casted the track and whatnot. And I should go back. Robin Robertson, her husband, in 2014, they finally made it down. They were on their way to Alabama, and they thought, hey, we'll stop in and see Shane on the way through. So I mentioned last time that I go out early in the morning. I try to get out there at sunrise, and that's what's worked best for me. And so they came out, and we did about a 2.5-hour, 3-hour trek through the area. And I actually hadn't been out in 3.5 weeks, maybe 4 weeks at that point in time, I believe. Mm-hmm. And the first spot that I took them to, one of the big A's, was back up. And I had pictures and video from the last time I'd been there, and it wasn't there, So, and Robin's actually the one that noticed it first as we were walking up to it. I was looking at some other things, and she was like, "Hey, look!" And I said, "Well, it's back up. I've got lots of pictures of that right there." But as we walked through the area, I just took them on a kind of a quick trip through because they didn't have a lot of time, and we were finding quite a few 15-inch tracks. And they weren't really, really nice ones, like really, like the ones that I've casted this year. Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, they were decent tracks, and we found a lot of breaks, a lot of things that tell researchers that they're most likely there. So that really got Robin's mind going, and she wanted to come back, and so she ended up coming back this year. Actually, and her husband was supposed to come too, and he ended up not being able to come. So she came on down, and the night that she got here on a Friday night, and it was a torrential downpour. It had been raining for like 4 days. The creeks were flooded that are out in the area. So we go out Friday night, and we didn't want to hike all of our stuff out and not be able to camp where we wanted and whatnot. So it was just sprinkling, so we thought we would get out and hike out to the spot and make sure it was doable, at this point. And if it wasn't, we were just going to sleep in our vehicles that night. Mm-hmm. So we get out and we start looking around, and there's this little gravel area that we park where we go into the woods. And coming across this gravel area, of course, it had been raining, but we're out with our flashlights, and Robin notices what looks to be a print in the gravel, and it's got water in it. So we get to looking, and sure enough, we measure it. It's a 19.5-inch print, and I sent you a picture of, I think a couple different 19-inch prints, 19.5. Yeah. But we found that 19-inch print, and I believe I sent you this picture too. And so we
all
found
these
a whole
are on the
trackway.
slideshow, folks. If you want to go
I believe they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we found a trackway. Of course, they're in a straight line, perfectly straight line, 19.5-inch prints, and it's going across this gravel area, and it was a 74-inch stride between the tracks. It was actually 74 inches from toe to heel, so you'd have to add the 19 inches again to get the exact distance, I guess. But we found those tracks. We found some 9-inch tracks. I mean, this is within literally like 15 minutes of being there, the spot where we parked to go into the woods.
Wow.
And then we found some 15-inch tracks, 14 to 15. And we documented all those. Of course, we have them on camera, on picture and whatnot. And so we took a stroll out. I don't know if I want to get into this or not, but I think I will. Before we took off to our campsite to check out where we was going to camp out, Robin had been telling me about this eye glow thing and eye shine that they see in Colorado here and there. And, I'd never seen anything like that. And
well, usually you go out in the morning, so you wouldn't see anything like that. You rarely ever go out in the evening, right? Okay.
Yeah, this was actually this was my first nighttime camp out in the area, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Was this weekend that she came down this year. So we're sitting here talking about it, and and Robin will tell you this, and it sounds crazy, and like I said, I'm open, and I don't shout down anybody's theories and whatnot. I don't want to miss anything in particular that may be important. But I wasn't really sold on the whole eye shine, eye glow thing, whatever you want to call it, and like literally, Robin asked for some eye glow, and a couple minutes later, through the trees, there's two big white eyes, and it wasn't an owl. They weren't close together. They were spread further apart than mine were, or Robin's. They were huge, and you could see them blinking here and there, and it absolutely blew my mind. It brought my thought process to a level it hadn't really been, and I'm trying to process this and in the meantime, and we watched it for a few minutes, and then it stopped, and that was that. We looked around for some more prints.
So you say she asked them to give her some eye glow or eye shine?
To show some eye shine.
What?
And then it happened. And I'm at this point I'm like, oh my gosh, is she the Bigfoot whisperer or what, It really did blow my mind. And I told her that. I told her that night. I was like, that really blew me away that just happened, because I hadn't seen it. Of course, you have other witnesses that have said the same thing, and then you have the people that shoot those ideas down, and like I said, I wasn't sold on it, but I wasn't, I wasn't going to say it couldn't happen either. Well, then it happened. So now I'm going, holy cow, this is a whole nother thing going on here that I wasn't necessarily prepared for. So we go out to our camp, the spot that we wanted to camp, and there was some water, flooded down into the area and stuff, and not through the whole camp, just in one particular spot, and it was starting to rain a little bit harder, so we thought we would just sleep in the car. So we hiked back out and slept in the cars that night, and so I took 3 sticks before we got in the cars to go to sleep, and I left the A out in front of my car, just a small one, and the next morning when we got up, the first thing, as soon as I got in my car, I noticed that the A was over on the side of my car. So, of course, I showed it to Robin, and we're like, oh, she thought that was pretty neat. But so the next morning, we gather up our stuff and we hike out to our camp. And I should go back and add that after we went out to where we were going to camp, I'd been kind of walking around the camp area and whatnot, me and her had, just kind of checking things out, because we wanted to camp near this one particular area of the creek, and we were, making sure that the area right next to the creek coming up to the camp wasn't flooded. So we looked over this one particular area pretty good, and we hiked back out. So the next morning, I did the A. It was moved when we woke up, and we hiked out to where we were going to camp, and we got our tent set up and was kind of putting camp together. And Matt Martson hadn't made it out yet because of the rain. He opted to drive in the next morning instead of the night before. He was the smart one, I guess. So we
maybe.
we're getting set up, and I there's a little game trail that leads out one particular direction of where we were camped out at, and as I walked into this game trail, I looked down to the right, and here's a perfect 14.5, 15-inch print, and the whole area around our camp, there was no other place that this print could have been left so nicely. I mean, it was weeds and thick grass and trees, and you could see where it had came through because the weeds were trampled down. You could see where it stepped and kind of curved through and come up next to where the camp was, and just happened to step in this one spot that was just perfect for a print.
Well, was it like a clay or a mud or what?
Yeah, it was just, real loose, fine, soft stuff, and it had been raining for quite a while. And this spot had actually most likely been pretty solid and packed, but like I said, it rained for 4 days. So this one area was, didn't have grass and stuff on it, and it just happened to step there. So I think there's some pictures on the slide of that and that cast also. And so we didn't have any hydrocal with us, so we had to wait on Matt Martin to get there. And so he shows up, and we casted it and whatnot. And while we were waiting on him, me and Robin decided to go for a hike out into the area. So we went out, and we were finding prints and breaks and all the usual stuff. And at one point we were kind of up on this the area where this holler runs through. The cliff kind of runs down into the holler at the end of it, and we were on this lower part, and down probably 150 yards from us, a tree comes crashing over and falling. And all the time I've spent out there, all the times I've been in the woods, I've never seen a tree fall. And as it starts crashing down, we both look over, and you could just barely see the figure, like the top of the head bent down, and I'm not sure if it's running on all fours or just squatting down real low, but kind of bolted out, and you didn't see much of it, but nonetheless, I saw the figure. Robin didn't catch it; she was kind of behind me and off to the left, but so we went down through. We found more prints and whatnot, and breaks, all the usual stuff. And so we hiked back out to the camp, and Matt Martin showed up when we casted it, and hung out all day and just prepared for for Saturday night. And Matt brought a thermal camera with him, and he had a little night vision camera and stuff, and so we camped out Saturday night, and Saturday night was pretty mellow. We didn't really get much as far as action and whatnot. At one point, through the woods, you could see glowing eyes again, and it was another deal where Robin, asked to see some eye shine, and
wow.
It was two sets of eyes this time, and they were off quite a ways, but nonetheless you could see them. And so at this point, I'm like hollering at Matt, and I'm like, "Hey, get over here!" So Matt starts running up, and as he gets to us, the eyes kind of turned a red color, or orange or red, and then as he got to us, they went back white, and then they disappeared. And I'm sitting here going, oh, because I wanted Matt to see this, because I told Matt about it that day. I'm like, dude, I know you're skeptical of this part of it and whatnot, and I kind of was too, but I saw it. It happened. So I don't know what to tell you. We'll try to make it happen again tonight. We'll hope that it happens again. So anyway, as he ran up and got there, we kind of quit seeing it. You can see one of them at one point, and Matt wears glasses, and Matt's like standing trying to look over my shoulder and see, look exactly where I'm looking, and then they just kind of faded out and stopped, and we didn't see them anymore. And the rest of the night was pretty uneventful at that point. And of course,
now,
Robin
the next
went back.
logical question would be for people that are, skeptical of this kind of stuff as far as the glow is concerned, is what kind kind of light sources did you have around you at the time that would have reflected eye shine as opposed to eye glow?
Because it was complete cloud cover. It was rainy, and it was really dark that night. Actually, that was one of the things that I immediately started looking for after this happened was, could that have been a light source? And we would turn off our flashlights and we almost couldn't see each other. It was really dark that night. It was really dark. Really dark. Almost kind of, to the point of being intimidating. When you're out in the woods and you can't see your hand in front of your face, it can be intimidating to people who aren't used to that and haven't been out in the woods a lot,
Now, I have to counter something. On it. A lot of people say that it's totally dark, but they can use their night vision monoculars. Now, night vision monoculars are night expanders. They don't create light from nothing. They take whatever ambient light that it can pick up and expands it. So in order for a night vision camera to work, there has to be something that it's expanding. So one of the problems that people have with there being a lack of a source for any kind of eye shine is that there is light out there, and it's possible that it's still being compressed within their eyeball and then reflected back out again as a color. That's just one of the arguments that can be brought up if you're using a night vision monocular. And there is light out there, whether we can see it or not. There's a lot of infrared. And this infrared could be coming out as a red glow because it's being compressed within the eyeball and then reflected out. There are different theories about it.
Absolutely. I have no theory or explanation on it yet.
But I wanted to let you know, Shane, that I have seen eye glow independent of any light source other than starlight. But I know of quite a few people that have. And I know that Matt Moneymaker had made a remark about it on Finding Bigfoot about eye glow, independent of any light source, and that it's like something that they can do. And I don't know exactly how he worded it, but that was the first time I'd ever heard anybody mention that. Of course, he was just ripped a new one on that, and a lot of people were really upset over him saying that because they thought it was, just out there. But
I will say,
when you've seen it, you've seen the independent eye glow without a light source, you have to wonder what in the world and why and how. But I've seen it numerous times. More often, I've seen eye glow with a light source, but I have actually seen what I call eye shine with a light source, but eye glow without a light source. I've seen that as well. So, but anyway, continue. I didn't mean to interrupt.
If I'm being honest, I can't tell you what I seen. I can't tell you if I saw eye shine or eye glow. All I can tell you is that I saw two glowing eyes. So, and the second night there was two sets. That's all I can confidently say. I don't know, if there was some kind of reflection thing happening or if it was, if they were making their own eyes glow. All I can tell you is that I saw it. And now I'm trying to figure out how the heck that could happen.
Right.
And what could have caused it,
Do we have a question from the chat?
Sure.
Okay.
Was that a question for me to ask? Let's see.
Yes, there was a question in the chat.
Well, actually, there was a couple of them. It goes way, way back there. Have you ever, have you discussed any smells that you've gotten from them?
No, I've never had the foul odor that people talk about. I didn't really even think about that until late 2013 because you hear a lot of reports of that, and I have never had that happen. I've had grunts that sounded like they were right over my shoulder, and turned around actually kind of startled because it sounded like literally like it was right over my shoulder. And there's nothing there, and my brain is saying, oh, there's a buck somewhere. There's a buck close, and I'm just not seeing it. I've had things like that happen. I've had, odd-sounding owls. I've had that happen quite a bit. I've got a video where you can hear the large male. He's quite a ways down the valley from me, but he roars, and you can hear it in the video. Actually, my oldest son was actually with me that day. But as far as the smell, I've never experienced that. Never experienced it.
Okay, what about another question? You can't be specific. You can't really be specific, but what part of Missouri is it?
It's southwestern Missouri. I'm about, 20 minutes you could be into Arkansas.
Okay.
South central Missouri, more so. I'm from West Plains originally, and I'll just say that there's lots and lots and lots of Mark Twain forest in southern Missouri.
Okay, that's the chat questions. Keep going, Larry.
Okay. Okay. So you really didn't have any significant events that night that you camped out. Did you sleep that night that you camped out? I have to ask you that because when I camp out, I don't really sleep. I sleep with like one ear open and one ear closed. The whole night long, I'm listening for every sound.
I did sleep actually, and I can't remember if Robin did or not. I don't think she did, but I think we both slept because of the rain. We put our rain covers on our tents also because it rained the night before, and so I slept pretty good actually.
And also,
I know Matt Martin.
Yeah,
I know Matt Martin did. He slept really good because he was sawing logs that night.
If it's raining, you hear this. You hear all this, the ticking sound of the rain hitting the tent and hitting the ground, and it's really, really hard to tell if something's coming up because of. Yeah,
well, it didn't rain that second night. It was actually really calm and quiet all night. At one point, actually, I will say this, and I woke up at 3:00 in the morning for whatever reason. I don't know, but something kind of startled me and woke me up, and I laid there and listened for a while, and I ended up falling back asleep. Later on, when we got up that next morning, me and Robin were talking, and Robin said that something had woke her up last night, and I said, what time was it? And she said it was like right around 3 a.m., and I went, oh, me too. So, that was about it. That was the gist of that evening. It was a pretty uneventful night once we settled down and started relaxing and decided to curl up and go to bed. Okay. We've actually, me and Matt Martin and another friend of mine, we actually went to an area last year. It's a big horseshoe holler in eastern Missouri, and hunters actually quit hunting down in this holler because there's supposed to be this monster that lives in the holler. And so we went out and actually camped in a cave, a horseshoe cave. Actually, you could go in and you follow it around for about 60 yards, and it comes out down the cliff. Just a big horseshoe cave that runs through the cliff. And we stayed in, and we found some signs the first day. We hiked about 20 miles altogether, and didn't really find a whole lot. And talked to some locals that lived out in the area, and they had sightings. And one guy in particular had actually shot at one that he thought was a bear at first. It was actually on the road out in front of his cabin when he was younger. And so we had stories and all that, but we didn't really find any evidence. We're actually getting ready to plan a camp out. Another one of my, I'll just say he's a friend that I see him daily, basically. Him and a friend went camping here just a while back, and they went about 20 miles south of where we went on that particular camp out. And they went out to this trail, and the trail is actually a horseshoe trail. And you hike, you come in on the trailhead and you hike out, and it just loops back around and comes back. And they were going to hike out halfway and camp for the night, and then hike the other, the rest of the way back the next day. And they got a late start, and they didn't get out till late afternoon, and it started getting dark on them before they got to where they wanted to camp. And they're trekking down this trail, and it's not a very, very well trail. It almost looks like a game trail. If you're at night, you can get lost on it and get off trail if you're not careful. But anyway, they're walking the trail, and all of a sudden they hear this loud whoop off to their left. And of course, my friend talks to me a lot, and he knows my situation, and he immediately recognized it, and they ducked down. And his friend was just like at this point freaking out. Kept asking, what was that? And he's just telling them to be quiet. They sat there for about a minute and a half, and then a whoop came from the opposite side of them. The first whoop, he said it sounded like it was maybe 200 yards off. The one that came from their right side, or at this point, they were facing to their left where they had heard the first one. So this one actually came from behind them. And he said, it had to have been at least 400 or 500 yards away. It was kind of off more in the distance, but back behind them came another whoop, and then the other one whooped back again. So there's 3 whoops right there within, a minute 45-second period. And at this point, his buddy's freaking out, and he's wanting to get out of there. So they headed on out of there pretty quick, and got to the camping spot. And all night long they were paranoid. And of course, 2:30 in the morning, they started hearing limbs cracking around them, and they're thinking they were hearing footsteps, in the trees around them and whatnot. And he said my friend actually woke up a couple times throughout the night to limbs being snapped and whatnot around them, and didn't sleep very well. The next morning, as soon as the sun came up, they packed up their stuff, and they hiked out twice as fast as they hiked in.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
We're actually getting ready to plan a trip there. Hopefully in the next couple weeks. I'm going to be down in the area, not this weekend, but next weekend, and I'm hoping the following weekend we can get it all worked out and get the camp out taken care of. But he's actually going to go back out with us, and me and Matt Martson and another friend of mine, we're going to go out and hopefully do the whole weekend out there in that area. And another thing that hit me was here on Facebook, it was maybe 3 weeks to a month before my friend came to me with this information. And he went out that weekend, and Monday he's telling me, what happened and whatnot, telling me all about it. So 3 weeks maybe prior to that, a guy was commenting with me back and forth in a Facebook thread, and he hit me up, and we started talking, and he wanted to tell me about a sighting, and I guess you wouldn't call it just a sighting, it was more of an experience that he had, and he gave me the coordinates, like the GPS coordinates to it, to where it happened, and it was literally 10 miles from where my buddy had just had this happen. And he actually had one he was camped out in a little field next to a tree line, and he had one tree line and was yelling and breaking tree limbs and, pretty good sized tree limbs and whatnot. And so it looks like it's going to be a really good area. This time of year, deer season's coming on, and I'd mentioned this, I believe, but this group that I've been, trying to study or whatever you want to call it, they disappear just before deer season, and I tracked them the past 2 years east, and I eventually, lose their trackway, and so here real soon I'll be, my season basically with that group will be done. I believe I know where they're going during the winter. I had a lady actually contact me, and she has a group that shows up basically about the same time mine disappear, and she lives about 20 miles east of my area. So I don't know, for sure. Hopefully, she's invited me out to camp a couple times out on her property, and she, they have a bunch of private property. So I'm hoping at some point, I'll be able to get out there with her, and I'm hoping I can get out there and leave a few particular things that tell me that would tell me that this is the same group that's coming onto her property. So hopefully I get that going this year. It's kind of up to her, and she's had a few experiences over the past 2 winters, and she's kind of coming to terms with it now, it seems like. And she's a real good person, and when it first started happening, she wasn't sure what to think, and she kind of she kind of opened up with me. She saw that we're kind of in the same area, so she opened up with me a lot, and kind of filled me in with what should had happened. And she's just like anybody else, you got to be careful who you tell what, because a lot of people will just say, "Oh, you're crazy," and I think she's given some credence in some of the things that she's told me and whatnot. And I have a pretty good idea that it may be the same group, so.
Yes. So
hopefully I'll be able to do that, sure, and maybe get to, figure that side of it out, and then we're gonna do this camp out here real soon, and see what kind of see if things get nitty and gritty out there where they had these things happen, and it seems like a really good location. I've found some other sightings in the area, in that general area too. So it seems like it's maybe a hot area of all year round activity, because it's national forest, and I even believe this particular area there's no hunting. So I'm hoping we get out in this area.
I'm going to tell you something, that they're very attracted to no hunting areas. That's absolutely where they're going to go, because guess what? That's where all the deer go to. So,
oh yeah.
So. But I wanted to let you know that we're, we've got Robin on the line, and she'll be joining us after we go to break. But we're going to go to intermission right now. So everyone, take a break out there, and Grass, if you'll roll that intermission, we'll be back in approximately.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Nite Callers Bigfoot Radio. Shane, you still with us?
I'm here.
You are here. That's a wonderful thing. Well, let's see if Robin is with us now. Robin?
Yes, I'm here.
Hello, Robin.
Hi, Robin.
Hello.
Hey, Robin.
Hi, Shane.
How you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. Just a long day at work today.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking all of us are along those lines.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's okay. So Shane has been talking to us a little bit about how you guys met and everything. Let's hear your version of the story. How you feeling?
Well, we met on Facebook and through Bigfoot Community. It's a big Bigfoot group on Facebook, and we met through. They have a committee, and I was on the committee, and then Shane was on there, and we just started talking, and I realized, I go, oh, and then he shared some pictures with me, and I went, oh, and then there's one video, I still am amazed where he didn't even know there was one in the background, and one was ducked down on the left side, and then on the right bottom corner, another one ducked down, and we just, I don't know, we just kind of hit it off. We have a lot in common because we tend to be evidence driven, where we're looking for evidence. We're just just not out there. We're just walking around. We're looking around and at. So, and then I invited myself over to his research spot. A year ago.
Just for a quick reminder, where are you located at?
I'm in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 12
that's
hours
not
from
too
Shane.
bad of a clip. Yeah, that's not too bad of a clip. But,
it's 12 long hours. I've done it.
12 long hours.
Yes.
Terrible, dragging, droning hours on the highway.
Yeah, well, it was worth it. I mean, I didn't mind driving. Well, we were on our way to Alabama, and we stopped. And of course, I told my husband, "Oh, we're only going to be with Shane just for an hour or two." We were there. How long, Shane? 4 hours? Maybe
3 or
5?
4 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a couple hours, and we ended up staying a little longer.
I know. John wanted to drag me out there, and Shane there going, "Nope, we're keep going." Yeah, so, and I'm hoping to have Shane come out to Colorado, and that way he can meet my group out here. Well, actually, I got 2 groups now, but I'm hoping he'll come out and we just, I don't know, we've just been friends, and he kind of looks sort of the same way I do. We're different because we're different people, but I mean, we seem to have the same, we think a lot alike on how we go out in the field, and that's probably why. And then he's in SIR now with his Sasquatch Investigations of the Rockies. Joined our group. Shane, when was that? Was it in May, beginning of May, or was it end of April?
I believe it was in May.
Yeah. Well, SIR has been getting. We've gotten a few reports in Missouri, and so it made perfect sense for us to have a researcher or investigator out in Missouri, and plus the co-founders knew that I was friends with Shane, and so they started asking me, and I'm going, "Are you kidding? I want him in it. I've been telling you guys about him for a year," and I feel that we're lucky to have him with us because he's real good, and he has great eyes, looking for details.
Yeah, I was actually pretty excited when they first started talking to me about joining SIR, because I had I'd looked over a lot of websites and whatnot, and SIR, if you go to SIR's website, there's a lot of information, and they're very thorough. All the investigators are very thorough, and that's where I'm lacking. I don't feel like I'm thorough enough as far as documenting things. So I'm learning to go that route and do more documentation because of them. So they're kind of, and of course, the Yellix. I'm sure you guys have seen the Yellix picture that they just released recently. Mm-hmm. I mean, SIR is getting results. They're all the investigators that they have they're in it for the long haul, and they're getting results, and they're doing things that work. So I was excited and really happy to be asked to come into their team, and I actually felt honored, that they'd asked me, because I believe that they hadn't planned on adding any more researchers to their group, and especially me being from Missouri, and so I felt blessed to be asked, and I was excited, and I'm still learning. I'm learning things from them, and they don't always know that I'm on there reading. And
I hear they don't go running through the woods chasing juveniles.
No. I mean, they do sometimes.
Well, there's some locations in our that SIR goes to. One in particular, they've been going for 5, maybe 6 years, and that's one of my favorite locations, because I had a sighting there in May, and so it's just, it was last summer, and so it's just, everyone is pretty independent in SIR, but we work together, and we pretty much, because we know everyone. I'm the one that knows Shane the most, but they'll get to know Shane pretty well. But we all seem to be on the same mindset. We're kind of evidence-driven, where we're trying to get out there and use stuff that we're finding to point us to where we need to go, and just to learn what's out there, and what they can teach us. And that's basically what we're doing. We're independent, but then we're a group, and that. So we, like Jeff and Teresa, they have a wonderful area in that, and I'm so happy for them because they're one of the hardest working investigators we have, and they just go in and they just go and do it. And they just go and do it. And I've been out in the field with them, and they're very thorough. And if they do come across something, they go back and retake pictures, and they try to do it exactly the same conditions, and to make sure it's accurate and that. Because, like I said, if the evidence isn't real, it's not evidence, and so it's why.
Well, you've added a little bit of a technical view to what Shane's been doing all along. How would you view what you did before you met Robin, Shane? More like, how did you put it? You were just out trying to find them or something, or experience them, but without the necessary research behind it?
Was that for me? I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
No. When it all went down for me, it was just by chance. It just happened. I wasn't out looking for him. I was just out hiking. I hadn't, I used to hike a lot, and I hadn't been out doing that in a long time, and I decided to get out hiking, and I did for whatever reason, I did a lot of studying at different trails and different trailheads and different areas before I went out, and I just happened to pick the location that I went to, and boom, it happened. So
and
I wasn't necessarily looking.
I remember you saying that you weren't really all that interested in doing casting and things like that.
Yeah, it was. It was just about, at the time it was just about me. I was on a quest for knowledge and understanding of what was going on and what I was seeing, and what they were and their habits, and literally I got obsessed with it for like the whole summer of 2013. I was just obsessed. Sometimes I'd be there 3 or 4 days out of the week. I was taking off work and going out there and just whatever I could do just to get out there for a day, I'm like that. I'm really one-track minded. So if you give me 10 things to do, I'll get them done, but it'll be one at a time. I do one thing at a time, and I tend to get obsessed with things that I'm that
I
I'm
think
interested
it's a little ADD and OCD, and I think the best researchers are a little ADD and OCD, because they are so focused on
tunnel vision. It's tunnel vision for me.
Yeah,
If there's anything outside of camping on weekends for me, I don't know what it is.
I can completely relate. I can. I'm the same way. If I could go camping every weekend, I would. I sure would. Wow. Okay, you guys were talking about having a lot of things in common, and I'm curious to find out, what do Colorado Bigfoot do that Missouri Bigfoot are also doing that are very similar? What did y'all find?
Well, it seems that some of the researchers in Colorado find the A's. I believe Robin's found several of those, and we show each other pictures of these different structures and whatnot, so we can compare. It's like getting together and comparing notes. We like me and Robin, I've shown Robin pictures that I haven't shown anybody else, other than maybe one or two other people. So we've just built that trust, so we're able to let it all hang out and talk openly and discuss views and bounce things back and forth. And the eye glow, of course, I hadn't seen that up until Robin came down, and I was to the point of thinking, well, not that I'm out at night. I've been out in the woods a lot over the years, though. I used to hunt and whatnot too, and so that's one of the things that is now happening here.
Well, they blinked for you, so that kind of helps.
Right? Yeah. We found some similar structures. Of course, the breaks of course, that's pretty well everywhere, There's a lot of similarities. The looks seem to be a little different,
Yeah,
I think Robin can probably go into that on her side.
Well, from what I can see from here, from the places I've investigated here in Colorado, and then when I went down there to Missouri, when I noticed some certain structures. In fact, the first time I was there last year, and Shane really didn't have to. We would go someplace. He would take us into an area, and I would be able to pretty much be able to figure out, if there's going to be another structure close by, because it seemed like, didn't you remember that, Shane? It seemed like I was able to predict when we were going to find some other things around certain structures.
Yeah. Part of it was when I took them out. Part of the reason that I'd built this trust with her, so I was comfortable with her and her husband coming out. But one of the reasons I wanted to get somebody else in there was so that I could take somebody that was experienced through my area and not show them things. I wanted other researchers. I didn't say, oh, okay, look at this, and this is up here. I just walked them through the area and let her and her husband pick things out. That and a lot of the stuff I knew. Of course, I knew it was there, and I expected it. But it was great for me to have somebody else come in and go, oh, look at this, and I'm thinking, yes, they're seeing everything, And of course, she's experienced enough that she would. She was calling out, hey, we'll probably find something up here. And the whole time I'm kind of going, man, she understands what's going on, and just from the experience she's had, in other places. So it was great for me to have them out and have them come out and go right to all the things that, I see change over time and sometimes from day to day, and basically be able to say on their own without me saying, look at this, without me putting anything in their heads. They picked it out all on their own. I didn't have to do nothing. So it was.
Oh yeah, there's stuff jumping all over the place there in Missouri. I love that place. I just noticed that by looking around in the terrain and that there's some similarities with that I would expect to see if they're active in an area. Would they be following game trails, or would they stay close to other things? And I was able to determine that they pretty much seem to follow ravines like they do in Colorado and running water. That's a key right there, and I think that's very important for people to realize. If you have clean running water, that's a good indication that that may be a spot that if they don't live there, but they may visit, but definitely, I've come to the conclusion that some of my best areas I found is because of clean running water and ravines, and they like the ravines. I think it's because it's just hard for people to get up into them, and they can hide real good in there, And one thing about Missouri is, oh my word, the foliage there's just so much vegetation. They can hide.
Yeah,
they can hide
really thick.
Nearly 2 feet from you, and you would never know unless they moved. So that I had to get used to, because here in Colorado we don't have thorns that are 1 to 2 inches long like they do here. and the grass that grows up almost up to my chin, and stuff like that. We do have thick woods and stuff here, but it's much different than it is in Missouri, and the ticks. Oh my word, Shane! I'm never going to forget about those ticks. I don't like them.
We have lots of ticks here.
Yes, you do. So there is we can see similarities. There's some differences because of the terrain and the location but things that I would expect from a species, that's what I was seeing there in Missouri, like I was seeing in Colorado. So
I'll have to ask you, Robin, when you first met Shane and noticed how he moved through the woods and everything, what was your thoughts on that? I know he's been pretty fortunate to have a lot of sightings, Mm-hmm. And what I was wondering, is there anything in particular that he does that he's maybe not even aware that he does that you may have noticed?
One thing I know when I've been out there with Shane and that is he just goes out there and he's just enjoying it. I don't think he doesn't come across he's going into a hunter mode. He's out there just walking, looking around, and just enjoying the area. And I think that's key in that. And I mean, that came out. You know, that was one thing I did notice about Shane is when he does go out in the field, you know, he's very nonchalant. He's very friendly, just walking around. He's curious. He wants to see how things are where they are, why are they that way, you know, was it made this way? You know, he's just curious. And so it's non-threatening. And I think is a big factor in why, because that group there definitely likes him. And I think that's one of the key is that, and I think it's his personality too. So.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
So you're blushing, Shane?
If you want me to tell you the truth or lie to you. No, I'm not blushing, and I appreciate your kind words, Robin.
Well, they're true. You know, it's easy to talk about the truth. So.
And in all honesty, that's kind of the same way that Robin goes out. That's one of the ways that we're very similar, and she does the same thing. When she's out, she's all over everything. She's looking at everything, and it's the same thing. It's that you can see the interest in her eyes constantly while she's out. She's, you know, constantly trying to figure this out and looking at this and looking at this, but the whole time she's just enjoying being out there. And you know, when I get out in the woods, there's, you know, your everyday life just goes away. I can go out and hike for hours by myself, and you know, all your stress, all that, you leave that at the trailhead when you go in, you know, and that's what I love about it the most is just that peacefulness, you know, when you get out there. There's been times where that peacefulness has been you know, disturbed and I've had some things happen when I first in 2013 when all this went down, where there was a couple times I hightailed it out of the woods because I wasn't sure what was going on, and some things happened that kind of freaked me out a little bit, and you know, I spent about a week questioning myself on all that stuff, and once I went back out with the mindset of I'm just going to go out and enjoy it like I used to, that's when everything kicked off and got really hot there for 2013, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's a key part of it too is you know, you go out with an aggressive mindset versus going out with a peaceful mindset, just to be out there and enjoy your time there and being away from the concrete jungle.
You know, when it becomes a job, it's no longer fun. You know, and you know, a lot of people will say, it's my hobby. And that's really a good way of looking at it, because as long as it is a hobby to you, then you're going to go out there with a different mindset than one who feels like you're being pressured to bring evidence forward. Then you go out there just tense and stressed out, and it feels like a job, and it's no longer fun, and it's no longer exciting, because then you feel like you've been a hired gun to go out there and find evidence, and that really takes away from the whole persona or the whole attitude that you have to have when you go out there. And so I was really glad to hear Robin say that about you, because am I still here?
Yes. I absolutely agree with that. Absolutely agree with that. And I'll also say that I had I tried being that person when I first got into a couple of Facebook groups, and I was excited to show some people some pictures, you know, because I thought, man, these people believe they're in these groups. And, of course, you know, there's a lot of good reactions, but there was bad reactions too. And you know, people would say, well, where's your follow-up picture? And I'm like, follow-up picture? What are you talking about? You know, I didn't have a clue at first. I was just anxious to show some people, all these pictures and stuff that I had and some video and stuff. And so I would talk to people, they'd ask me questions, and I would just...
Shane, it's completely changed from the way it used to be, because the way it used to be, we didn't have to have follow-up pictures. We did not have to leave leaves and sticks like you were talking about in the track and all this. It's completely changed. If I was to get out there and start gathering evidence again, which now I'm more of an experiencer than I am a researcher, but if I was to get out there and try to get evidence again, I would have to have lessons on how to do it, because it's completely changed now how it's supposed to be done. Follow-up pictures, and don't clean the track before you cast it. Gosh, what else are you going to tell me?
I had a few people. People were fairly nice to me. As a whole, even a lot of the skeptics that would give people a hard time, I would just answer their questions the best I could, and they'd say, well, why don't you go out and get some follow-up pictures? And so I'm like, okay, I'll go out there. So I went out and spent a day just getting follow-up pictures so I could say, okay, here's what you wanted. Yeah. The whole time I'm there, I'm like, man, I should be up over here now. I've broken my routine because I'm doing all this other stuff, and it was my worst research day ever. And I hate even using that word, because a lot of people for a long time would say, if they were giving me some credit or something on some comments or what have you, and they would, just give me a comment like you're a decent researcher. I would always say, I'm not a researcher, I'm a hobbyist. Right? Let's keep that mindful, because I'm not going to keep going out and doing this other stuff. Especially nowadays, I don't have as much time to get out there. Especially this year, I've been super, super busy. So any time that I'm out there, I'm trying to get, some interaction or have a sighting or fine print that I can cast.
You want the good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't blame you there, because life is short.
Don't get me wrong. I understand the whole side of that if people out there.
Well, yeah, but even 75% of them ain't going to believe anything you bring forward anyway. So, I'm going to say
and that's true.
50%. You've got 50% that do, and then 50% that just don't believe anything they see. And so, there you are. You have wasted your time. You feel like you've wasted your time, and you haven't enjoyed the experience. And that, to me, is what it's all about.
Absolutely.
That's where probably where Shane and I are different. Because I do like to get in there and to analyze and make sure that what I have found is what I think it is, and I do follow-ups and stuff like that.
Well, you're more of an investigator then. Would you say that?
I think that's just more my personality. I just want to, because I'm just, I'm out there looking and when I find something, it's like I want to make sure that what I have is what I think it is, and not, what I want it to be. See, there's a big difference between, what you suspect and what you want. And I'd rather have something that I suspect is Bigfoot related versus, I want it so bad that, I'm gonna, that kind of points you which way you're gonna find things. And me, I'd rather just go out and look around and let me find the stuff, if it's there. But if I don't find it, I don't find it. It's just
right.
And so
there's a lot of people out there within the last 2 or 3 years that have been getting into the have to prove it to science mode. And in order to do that, you have to build your own kind of way of going about it within your own area and what you're experiencing in that area and how you would bracket it off. Some people do that, some people don't. And the ones who do that expect everybody else to.
Yes, and
if you're doing it for yourself, to have your own scientific validation, that's great. But expecting the rest of the world to keep up with you on that level, and then getting ticked off if they don't, that's just not fair.
Well, the main reason why I like to go through and kind of put things in sequences and rule out things and stuff like that. And so that way, if someone does say, come and say, because I did have someone, because I had wrote a story about on Bigfoot Community one time, because I was real excited because I had seen a 7-foot brown female, and
wow.
And so and they're saying, how do I know you're not making it up? And I say, well, 2 weeks before that I found a 16-inch print, probably less than a quarter of a mile from there, maybe even is less than an eighth of a mile, and then down from that spot, just down at the bottom, I found a 14-inch print the year before, and then and so I said, well, those are my indicators that are in the area and they're active, and so when they realize that I have something besides my visual, it makes people think twice. I'm just not making it up. I mean, if they do think I'm making it up, I'm secure in my knowledge and so I don't worry if people believe me or not, because I know what I see, and I know that I'm careful on what I do, and so that's why I don't worry too much about validation from other people, but I do you
CYA, you cover yourself.
Yeah,
I'll say this: Robin loves to document everything. She loves it.
What? That is,
and I'm literally the polar opposite. I'm the polar opposite. I'm sure Robin will attest to this. When she's been out with me, she's stopping and she's saying, "Oh, look, here's another print," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, there's the 14," and I'm ready to move on because I've seen so many prints out there. And I'm measuring
it, seeing how far away.
Yeah, she's measuring it and taking pictures, and I'm stopping and waiting, and so she loves to document, and that's a great thing, and that's something I'm trying to work on myself, and I'm trying to take that attribute from her and put it into myself.
Well, it's pretty sad, Shane, when you go, oh, this is common, I see prints all the time, and I'm going, oh, you make me sick, Shane.
Make me sick?
Yeah, some of the scientific types are
prints,
dying.
But for him to sit there and say, oh, I find them all the time here, and I just go,
people would die for a
big deal.
Like that.
There's people who have never seen a Bigfoot print, out investigating and to find one. I mean, I still get excited when I come across them.
Exactly. Well, your terrain is a little different, Robin. You have a really rocky terrain, and it's really hard to find tracks.
That's why I go where there's water.
Yeah, and where I'm at, I have a real heavy leaf litter on the forest floor, so it's very hard to find tracks, and they're too smart to step in any mud, and so it is. I've only found 2 good tracks in 15 years here.
Oh,
I
wow!
found tracks in other places, but not here.
I've got so many pictures of tracks. It's ridiculous. I've probably got 100 pictures of tracks.
You get the
that I've taken over the last years. I don't even take pictures of them hardly anymore. It's just I've got so many already.
Try finding tracks in a rainforest.
Same for me.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, I've been fortunate with the tracks here because we have a lot of area here where it's like the hard red clay and real rocky areas, and so I've been pretty fortunate. Of course, this is near a creek and water and whatnot. So, and we've had the past 3 years we've had times throughout the summer where we've had just torrential downpours for days, and I always go out after it rains. That's if you're going to find prints around here, that's when to go out. So I've been fortunate as far as that goes, and they've just stepped in the right spots at the right times for me here and there.
Well, Shane, I have one question to ask you. Have you found any more 14-inch prints like the one that we found in May? Because I know because we suspect the one that you found in April and then the one in May. Have you found any more of that one since its toes were real distinct?
Yes, okay. But they weren't really good ones. They weren't as as nice as those tracks that we found. Yeah, were they in that same area or were they off over? No, same area. Same area.
Oh, okay. Yeah. My husband wants to come camping. I'm inviting myself again.
I know. I'm about to invite myself.
It's easy to do when you're welcome anytime.
But you got to come out to Colorado. I think we will blow you away with some of the things here.
I want to. So. I want to so bad. I've been to Colorado once, and it wasn't. In the past 10 years, I've been once. I used to go snowboarding out there every year, but until I started breaking bones, and then I quit doing that. So I used to be an extreme junkie. I'll just leave it at that.
Well,
hey,
Robin,
go ahead.
No, go ahead, Robin. Say what you
I was just going to say, because I'd like to see Shane's reaction to my newest spot, which is I call Rue's Place, and there's a lot of structures, and I actually found an impression on my tarp after a thunderstorm, because my dog and I heard one walk up to our tent, and then it stepped on the tarp, and then it walked over, and then it knocked over my husband's walking stick that was next to the tree right in front of the tent, and it took off. And then, of course, I waited a minute and then got up and looked out. And, of course, I look out. I know they're gone because I heard it run off. And my husband comes out, because he was sitting in the Jeep. And I'm like, John, get over here. I heard one walk over. And then I got out, and I went over and looked over there, and I saw that it was an impression because it's on a tarp. But I got pictures and everything of it. It was pretty cool. And so
okay, well, my question for you, Robin. Oh, well, that's awesome experience because I love staying in a tent because almost invariably I'll have something happen during the night. What I was going to ask you about...
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
What?
I'm sorry.
I was going to ask her about asking about the eye shine. How what is it that you say to them to make them give you eye shine? How did you say it?
Well, because I've been lucky because of with Sasquatch Investigations of the Rockies, the one location that they've been there for 5-6 years, and that's where I saw my first eye shine there, and I just call them in. I look around to see if there's signs of them in the area, and then if you can figure out where you think that they're in. So if you find some prints or some impressions and that, I try to walk over there, and then I try to look for an area to be an area where they can hide really good, and then I just call them. That's all I do, right, Shane? All I do is just call them and tell them who I am, and I said I'd love to see your eye shine. It's real pretty, and I just tell them I'm just here to visit. I love your home, and then I wait, and then I usually whistle, and I don't know, I whistle, I just talk. So
I want to say before.
So you don't do any calls or anything like that? No howls or.
I will do some whoops. I don't do any aggressive calls. I do not do aggressive calls. I do not do any screams, howls, their whistles, and their whoops. And then I also do a little. It's like I go woohoo like that. And I've actually had one at one location. They have called back to me when I do that call, and so it's just, and I just do it everywhere I go. So if I hear something walking around or paralleling me, especially in a new location, I'll just start whistling, and that's just, and I do that all the time. So if I hear something, I'll whistle, and that way they realize it's me. So it's like I'm trying to get them to hear what I sound like. It's me. This is that crazy lady. She doesn't run. She's always here. We can throw rocks at her and she doesn't go anywhere.
I want to add to the night that happened when she was down here in my area. We had literally just 10 minutes before that we were studying this trackway of 19 and a half inch prints going across this gravel area, and then we also found some tracks going into the woods where we saw where we had the eye shine or the eye glow, however you want to describe it. So, and I'd actually, Robin she got excited right away. She's the one that found the prints and that went through the gravel spot, and so immediately as soon as we got there and got out, she was already on the hunt and looking for things, and boom, there it was, and so
wow.
The excitement was already up, we hadn't even gotten into the woods yet, and we're finding tracks, and of course it's great for me to have her in there and have her finding things like that, because it validates
exactly
things that I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been great having her come in, and Matt Martin also. It's they find things. Matt Martin now, he's been out into the area 2 or 3 times by himself now, and
he found that
nothing
nice.
real. Yeah, and he's finding some new things here and there, and nothing real crazy's happened yet. He hasn't had a sighting or a visual yet, but he's in it for the long haul with me.
If I can ask a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
With both of you working on it, somebody mentioned that a little while ago, and it just kind of fits in a little bit. Is there anything new and smashing to the world, something new that nobody else seems to have found scientifically about them that you two have figured out about Shane's area?
So when you say scientifically,
well,
I'd like you
let's
define what you mean by that. That will help me answer.
Yeah, within some kind of proof.
Nothing scientific, I would say.
No.
Because that takes it to a whole different level. I will say this: a lot of people, it's becoming more known, I guess, or through observation, from sightings, that they don't all look alike. For a long time, people thought that they all looked like Patty, and if it didn't look like Patty, then you were hoping. And I found in my area, the 5 that I cataloged, 2 of them look real similar, and the other 3 look completely different. So there's literally like 4 different looking or type, 4 different types as far as looks in this one spot. And I told you guys in the last a couple of weeks ago that the young male juvenile looks very human. And I actually had a listener hit me up on Facebook and asked to see some pictures, and he seemed like a nice guy, and told me he wouldn't share the pictures and whatnot. So I showed him. I sent him a few pictures to let him look at them, and I sent him one of the male juvenile, and he looked at it and he said the same thing. He's like, "Wow, that's kind of freaky," because this thing it doesn't look like the others at all. It looks completely different. So there's different looks. I'm possibly just assuming they're like us, and there's many different looks to them. It just depends on what genes come out.
Well, mine isn't something earth-shattering like that, where I kind of figured they all looked a little different. But I a couple of weekends ago, because my new location, which I call Rue's Place, we had rhythmic wood knocking, the first night we were camping there, and it went on for like 3 minutes or even longer, and I recorded half of it, and it was like boom, 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 boom. Well, a couple of weekends ago when I was there, the light came on, and I realized, because when people wood knock, because my husband and I, we do wood knock, but we don't go walking through the woods and just we don't hit the trees and stuff like that. It's usually we're at our camp spot, and it's like we would knock to announce we're here. We're at our camping spot, and then sometimes we'll do a call, a whoop, or a whistle, and so we're just announcing ourselves. So that's basically what we do with the wood knocks. Well, I'm thinking with their wood knocking, I think they hit the side of the trees, but I think they use 2 pieces of branches, and they hit them together. And that's how, especially with that rhythmic knocking that they do, I think they're using that. And at least the last 2 weekends ago when I was listening to their knocks, it almost sounded like they were knocking as they were walking, and that, especially the one. And so and then the light bulb came on. I go, you know what? They may be hitting 2 sticks, 2 logs, large ones together, and it would make sense. And so we took 2 wood knockers and we hit them together, and it sounded just like that, the wood knocks. And I'm going, oh my word, this group they're mobile wood knocks. So that's why I call mobile ones, because they're hitting two sticks together as they're walking.
You think they're communicating with each other that way, or it's
definitely.
You think so? Okay.
I think they would knock to say. I think they would knock to if they don't want to call out to each other. I think they'll do a wood knock just to say, okay, I'm right here, and then I think they also would knock to let you know if the people are still there.
But if they're walking and wood knocking, then what would that be? Would that still be?
Well, I think that wood knocking that I heard, it could have been a combination of they were wood knocking to each other, but I think that was directed towards me and my husband. I think it was directly in that because, like I said, I've heard, we've been hearing the knocks, and they've been around our camp spot, and they're usually around the same time now in the evenings. So we've been, I haven't had the rhythmic wood knocking like we did the first time, but we've had some that were, bam, and then bam, and then we hear, and then the ones we almost, when they hear the second hit, you can tell it walked over in that, and then we had it sounded like they broke a tree, and then my husband and I found the next day, we found two fresh tree breaks that were there were like two ravines over from us. So, and that, because we have rolling ravines where we were at, and so I think there must have been one back there, and they decided to break a tree in that. So, like I said, it's nothing earth-shattering, but I do think that some of the wood knocks, they do it mobily, where as they walk, they hit two together, and they don't just hit the side of a tree.
Okay, I don't know. Is that you, Shane, making all that racket?
Yeah, that's me. I'm going through my desk looking for money.
Oh,
is that right?
I'm sorry.
Obviously, you're not finding any.
Well, I found some, just not all that I was hoping for.
I was gonna say I'm poor because my money goes to go out in the field, buy gas,
I know,
go up in the mountains. So.
I think we're getting pretty close to it. Last 5 minutes. Let me get over here and look at the clock. Yeah, we have 6 minutes.
Yeah, it's about 5 minutes.
Yeah. What do y'all want to share with us in this last 5 minutes?
For all the newbies of the world.
For all the newbies in the world, yes. What would you like to? What is your?
I would just say, if I was given some advice, and of course this is just from my personal experiences and what's happened to me. Don't tell the whole world about it. Study other people's work, but stay open and do your own thing and go about it your own way. And enjoy it, when it becomes work, or when you feel like you're focused too much on getting the evidence, drop back and don't worry about that. And just enjoy your time out there and enjoy the peace and serenity of being out in the woods and being away from the concrete jungle. And it seems to me either sightings happen by accident or they happen to people who are out there just enjoying themselves.
Okay, and I'm sure Robin's got a completely different.
Yes. I would tell people just especially for new people, check out your state parks. Look for areas, especially ones that don't allow camping, and look for clear water and lots of deer, and just go in there and just have fun. Don't don't go in there thinking you're going to find them. You know, just go in there and learn what the woods can teach you. Learn what the woods can show you what's out there and at. Because I take as many pictures of mountain lion tracks and raccoon tracks and stuff like that. I have as many pictures of those as I do Bigfoot prints.
Yeah, a friend of ours does.
So I go out exploring and just enjoying it. Like Shane says, enjoy it. But you just need to be respectful and realize that it's not your home, and you can't control the forest. And so if you just go in there as a guest and just have fun, then you'll do better. Because I noticed when I just went in there and just said, well, whatever happens, happens, and that's when the stuff happens. But it's not something it doesn't happen overnight. You just got to go. And don't expect anyone to tell you where to look. You're going to have to look yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah, what she said.
Yeah.
Unless you become friends with me, I'll take you. Because I've been known to take people out in the woods. I have a hard time telling people no.
I would love to.
Because I like sharing, what I know. So.
Yes.
Yeah. So is that real different from Shane's?
That not a whole lot different, but a lot more descriptive. I think for you,
I was
probably
going to say
got more from that. Like
that was way more eloquent.
Yes. Well, I still like your attitude too, Shane, because I tend to be more like you, and but I've always wanted to be like Robin, but I know how I am.
and that's what I'm working on now. I'm trying to find that happy medium where I can become an investigator part of the time, and then part of the time I can just do it for me.
Well, see, Shane, I think you already are an investigator. You do it. You just don't realize you are.
And you won't admit it.
You just need to bring a ruler. Bring a ruler. So you can measure.
Right.
Well, I want to tell you both that I thank you guys for coming on very much. I've enjoyed having you, Shane, twice, and Robin, we're going to have you back because I know you've got some new things to tell us about. So we definitely are going to have you back, and it's really a pleasure to have you back on the show because I know we really enjoyed interviewing you a few months back. So we're going to have to bring you back for a part 2. But I want to thank you both for coming on and making this show, and I want to thank Blogtalk for allowing us to do this show. They didn't last week, but we're going to see everyone next Thursday night. I have someone lined up, but it's not set in stone, so we'll keep y'all informed. So anyway, we're going to have to say goodnight, everybody, and Brad, can you roll that outro? Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.